remote meeting procedures. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded for archive purposes on the Council's website. Can I ask members, except for Cabinet members and group leaders, to ensure your mics and cameras are turned off until you're invited by myself to speak. So you actually need to switch your camera off, not just push the switch across at the top of the laptop. Thank you. And for the benefit of those joining online, could we please limit the use of the chat facility to ensure that all discussions take place in the meeting itself, unless of course you have audio or camera issues. And if any participant has technical difficulties, please bring this to the attention of the Democratic Services Officer as soon as possible. And I'm sure they'll let me know. Should you wish to speak tonight, please use the raise your hand function in the Teams software and wait until invited to speak. If the raise your hand function doesn't work for any reason, you can also raise your hand on camera and I will see you. With regard to voting on recommendations, if there's no dissent to a recommendation, I'll accept the silence as agreement. And just to remind councillors, this meeting will be conducted in line with the standards set out in section 19 appendix 2 of the council's constitution, and I kindly ask that all participants adhere to one speaker at a time. Thank you. So we move on to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies, please?
Yes, Mayor, if I could give apologies for Councillor Sandra Perks.
Thank you. And Councillor Carroll?
And Councillor Robert Fisher.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, roll call and declarations of interest under the Council's Code of Conduct. Can I invite the Chief Executive to take us through the roll call and any declarations, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Start with Councillor Julie Aviett.
Present and nothing to declare.
Apologies, I'm going to have to stop for a second because I've mislaid a couple of pages from the roll call, so if you bear with me. OK, normal services resumed. Councillor Anne Asprey.
Presennol, a dim byd i ddatgan.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you. Councillor Gareth Ball.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhiannon Birch.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Bronwyn Brooks.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Gillian Bruce.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Buckley.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Liz Burnett.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Samantha Campbell.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor George Carroll.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Christine Cave.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Charles Champion.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Janice Charles. Councillor Charles, present. Okay, I'll move on. Councillor Millie Collins.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Marianne Cowp.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Pam Drake.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Vince Driscoll.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Anthony Ernest. Councillor Ernest, present. Okay, Councillor Chris Franks.
Present, and I'd like to declare I'm disappointed that we can't have a physical meeting yet again tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Franks. Councillor Wendy Gilligan.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Russell Godfrey.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Emma Goodjohn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ewan Goodjohn.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Stephen Haynes. Present and nothing to declare. Councillor Howard Hamilton.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Sally Hanks.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor William Hennessy.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Nick Hodges.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Hooper.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Catherine Iannucci.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Gwyn John.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Johnson.
Presennol a dim byd i ddatgan.
Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Belinda Lovelock Edwards.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Julie Lynch Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Kevin Marnie.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Naomi Marshalsea.
Yn bresennol a ddim byd i ddatgan.
Councillor Michael Morgan. Present and nothing to declare. Councillor Jane Norman.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Helen Payne.
Presennol, present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Elliot Penn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Perry.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Joanna Prythro.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ruba Sivanianen.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Carrie Stallard.
Yn bresennol a dim byd i'w ddatgan.
Councillor Neil Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhys Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Steffan William.
Presennol a dim byd i'w ddatgan.
Councillor Margaret Wilkinson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Eddie Williams.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Nicholas Wood.
Present and nothing to declare.
And I'll just go back just in case Councillor Charles has joined us.
Councillors Charles and Ernest are having difficulties signing in. They will try, but if not, could we submit their apologies, please?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carroll. That concludes the roll call, Mayor.
Thank you. So we move on to agenda item 3 to consider the final draft Vale of Glamorgan Council annual self-assessment report for 21-22. Before I invite the leader to take us through the report, Councillor Carroll, can I check if you're wanting to come in or if that's an historic hand?
Apologies, that's a legacy hand.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, so Councillor Vernell, Liz, the leader, would you like to take us through this item, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Council, this is in essence a housekeeping report. The annual self-assessment is a new requirement for local authorities under the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021, which requires the council to keep its performance under review, consult on and then publish a report setting out the conclusions of its self-assessment once in respect of every financial year. So once a year we would publish that. In fact, it's part of the delivery and monitoring framework of the annual delivery plan, which sits between the corporate plan, a 5-year corporate plan, which for us runs from 2020 to 2025, and the service plans, which are the much more operational departmental plans, which come to us. When we look back in terms of drafting the annual delivery plan for 2021-22, which is what this refers to, a whole range of documents were considered. So it's not just a single report. And so for this one, there were things like the statutory duties that were bound by Future Generations Act and the Future Generations report, the COVID-19 community impact assessment, the coronavirus recovery strategy, findings from the work of our regulators, etc., views of residents, and so on and so forth. The consultation of or the consultation for this annual delivery plan went through for about 8 weeks, but it was over a Christmas period, so it was extended. It was considered before it was adopted by all 5 scrutiny committees, and went to Cabinet in March 2021 and to Council in April 2021. After that, once it was agreed, it then was monitored every quarter. It came to both scrutinies first and then to Cabinet on a quarterly basis. So quarter 1, I think, was in sort of October, November 2021. Then we had quarter 2 in January. Quarter 3 was in April 2022, and quarter 4 was in July 2022. And so the reports of all those scrutinies, the comments of those scrutinies, which mostly were scrutinies noted the reports, were fed into that. So in terms of where we are now, the Vale Glamorgan annual self-assessment is the council's position statement on its performance after the last year, and it draws on a wide range of information sources to assess the progress that's been made by the council in delivering that. The information contained within the annual self-assessment report will be used to inform the development of the council's annual delivery plan for 2023-24, and that will be coming to Cabinet shortly. In terms of elected member involvement in the annual self-assessment, said it's been going to scrutiny, and there's been it's actually been to governance and audit twice. In the summer, scrutiny chairs will have been involved in the original self-assessment before drawing up the self-assessment report. And there are annual directorate level self-assessments as well. As I said, the engagement with scrutiny committee. The self-assessment approvals process has also involved further challenge from both Cabinet and the Governance and Audit Committee, in line with their new role, which is to review both the draft and final versions of the Council's annual self-assessment report and make recommendations for changes to the Council. And those changes have actually been built into the report that is now before you, alongside this report. I'll just refer back to my notes. On balance, the report finds that the Council has delivered against its annual delivery plan, and I use the word on balance advisedly, because I think it's fair to say that this is a work in progress. This is the first time that we've done it in this way, and if I was to say, are there any areas for improvement, I would say, of course there are. That's the whole point of doing self-assessment. That's the whole point of taking it to scrutinies. That's the whole point of taking it to governance and audit. And that will be reflected when we look at the annual delivery plan for next year. So the consultation, there were some comments from governance and audit about responses to the consultation, and the consultation received I think it was 125 individual responses to the summary. About 2,500 people looked at the animations, because obviously we try and make it as accessible as possible. We received 30 comments on social media. That compares fairly favourably with consultations that we take. We might get, I was just looking at some figures, say the Knapp skate park, when we put stuff out about the new designs for Knapp skate park, the initial reach for that was 36,000 people. When we announced the works to that, there were 63 responses. So we know that people are looking, we know that people are actually reading the posts. But in terms of people actually responding, maybe there are questions as to why they don't say extra. But if you're happy with what you read, why would you spend time writing on it? But if you look at things like the draft waste strategy, 400 responses, public transport survey, about 521 from there, and some work on the estimate done in similar timescales. So obviously we'd want to look at engagement further. That's, we've actually got a cabinet member for community engagement, so I'm sure she will be looking at that a lot more, is already working on that. But we're not outside it's not an outlier in terms of that. So as I said, this is before us today for approval, and the recommendations, if I can get to that, is that the final Vale of Glamorgan annual self-assessment 2021-22 be referred to full council as it is. That was from Cabinet for approval, with a request to accept the revision to the section headed improving our economic infrastructure, and that amended area was included as supplementary information to Cabinet on 3rd of November, and it was included with the reference. But if you look at the report in front of you, that's already been amalgamated. So it's to be approved with the revision now incorporated prior to publication. And I would therefore move, Chair.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Leader. I'd like to start by thanking the staff responsible for drawing this report together. 50-page reports don't come from nowhere. They involve a great deal of work. The reason this report is required is because Welsh Government has made legislation that requires it. I've read the explanatory memorandum for that Act, and I'm not sure I'm any the wiser. Local government is already the most heavily scrutinised of public bodies in Wales. Estyn inspect our schools, Social Care Wales look at our care facilities, Audit Wales not only oversee our accounts, but also recently carried out thematic reviews on homelessness and leisure facilities, to name just two. We have a cabinet and cross-party scrutiny system, as well as an executive group and opposition, and it's within that role, of course, tonight to scrutinise this report that I'm speaking here, and I'll be doing that without fear or favour. Firstly, it's unclear, I think, who the intended reader of this annual report is. Who is this 50-page report actually aimed at, other than somebody in Welsh Government who's going to be ticking the box to say that we've done it? If we thought a 50-page performance management report was read by the general public, our electoral strategies would all be very different when we come to talking to people. But this is our annual performance report. It's amongst our most important reports of the year. We even have a single issue full council to discuss this. At the very least, then, you'd expect the report should include a short executive summary so the council can get its point across as to what it's actually highlighting. Much of our own self-assessment here is hidden in hyperlinks. The casual reader probably won't click through that when reading this, and much of the body of the report analysis is analysis of the consultation that Councillor Burnett has just referred to. Now, the Governance and Audit Committee noted there were relatively few responses from the general public and council staff to the consultation on this, something which Councillor Burnett has tried to explain away. I'm not concerned by small numbers per se, but in the context of this report's importance to the council, those need to be explained and those issues resolved. These are important methodology questions. Is a survey the best means of getting the data that we want on this? What numbers did we anticipate or target? Did we do any work to try and improve those numbers beyond what we were getting through, which is admittedly fairly small? Should we have got some sort of representative survey of the people who live in the Vale? Should somebody independent be carrying this out on our behalf? Have we got rich enough data from which we can draw meaningful conclusions from the data here? As I say, much of the body of this is analysis of our consultation. And the reality is that self-selecting 120 or so Vale residents is probably not a good enough base for drawing conclusions on public opinions, and neither is 20 staff from the thousands that work for the Vale. If we're going to allow small numbers to be explaining our response of this, we need to say why. Perhaps more frustrating, though, is if by accepting those small numbers, we then have to draw conclusions even when the public disagree with what our officers are telling us. There's broad agreement on future priorities. That's fair enough. It can be easier to talk about what we're going to do, but there's not much positive support for our actual delivery. Only a third of respondents agreed we deliver to vulnerable people. Fewer than 40% agreed we met our target on infrastructure, less than 30% on the way we work. Just a quarter thought we were doing net zero well. At the same time, when we boil it down, we've then declared as a council that we are good, despite the public who've responded to our survey telling us otherwise. In essence, the views of the participating public do not align with the view the council has of itself. At the cabinet, at the council, are we generally comfortable with this dissonance? There needs to be greater reflection on this, and the credibility gap here needs to be reduced, particularly at a time when delivering services is going to become even more challenging as a result of Westminster cuts. To conclude, Mayor, I appreciate this is the first of the new reports under this format, but I don't think this document does its job well as our annual self-assessment report. I don't think it shows this council in a good light, and I don't think it's a good reflection on this council's work. There's a saying in Welsh, and I use it frequently in this council, nid da lle gellir gwell. It's not good if it can be improved. Mayor, I believe this report can be improved, and tonight I'll be recommending that the Plaid Cymru Group rejects this report, that is redrafted and brought back to us again, because I believe it can be improved. Even if passed tonight by this council, I would hope these comments will be appended to the report sent to Welsh Government, considered by officers going forward. Diolch yn fawr, Mair.
Thank you. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll be relatively brief. And firstly, just want to, as a member of the Governance and Audit Committee, who, as the leader said earlier, received this report twice, I'm going to repeat the couple of the points that I made there. But firstly, I just want to echo support for Councillor Johnson's position there, because I think the points you're making are hugely valid. But the two things that really concern me is that we didn't engage sufficiently early on with people throughout the organisation or people who were users of our data. We presented them with the output rather than talk to them about what was happening. And I think that misses a real opportunity. In my experience, those who are closest to the action tend to know what's going on. And I would encourage the council, as we use this report and learn from it, as the leader suggested, going forward, we make an active effort to engage with staff earlier and also users earlier, because to I'm sure it won't be a surprise to anyone, they'll often have the answers that we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hooper. I see no other hands, so I assume that nobody else wants to speak on this matter, and therefore we will move.
Mayor, Councillor Perry has his hand up.
Yes, thank you very much. Just spotted. Councillor Perry.
So, sorry to be a bit late there for you. Bit of problem with that button. Yeah. I'm unhappy, similar to the two previous speakers. I think the most glaring one is when it comes to equality. And I put this through the actual document through a PDF checker, which has now just disappeared. But the result was quite shocking. There were something like 99,000 errors in terms of accessibility to this document. So if we want to engage widely with our community, we need to realise that not everybody is like us and reading as most of us do, but they may be using a screen reader. And if there's 99,000 errors in this document, and basic things like titles missed, we're excluding a lot of people. It does show that we're not actually outreaching to all parts of our community. In terms of Project Zero, I think members in my ward are very disappointed with how Project Zero is going and wouldn't consider that good. So I will most probably be voting against the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. I see no other hands. Councillor Sivignon, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My comments are only this, really, that the council are embarking on our participation and engagement strategy, which is going to be a key part of our work. And I think some of the the comments of Councillor Hooper and Johnson were poignant in terms of us working harder as a council to reach more of our residents, and some of the tools by which we can do that Councillor Johnson mentioned, and they are issues that we are discussing as a council in terms of our strategy. In addition to that, I've convened a panel of the champions in the council in order for us to start mapping some of those connections that we should be making to reach our communities, and communities that we should be reaching, and we should be engaging with and listening to, and we should be delivering our services to. So we are listening. This is has been said already by the leader, this is the first time we're doing it in this way, but we are we're very mindful of what more we need to do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and I thank the leader for presenting the report. I do have some sympathy with the administration in that this is the first time that a report of this nature has been brought before us. Under the previous annual improvement plan, I think that things were dealt with differently, but I would share some of the concerns raised by other members. I do think there are issues with the format of the report. I think that it could have been more accessible to those reading it. I also think that the comments made by the audit committee were valid. I think it is a sensible suggestion to bring this report back, to refine it and make it more accessible, and I would be happy to support Councillor Johnson's calls on that.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Marnie.
Thank you. I just point out, to be perfectly honest with you, the amount of consultations that this council has held, because it was a statutory duty, and then ignored even quite large swathes of public opinion that are against what you actually do, and you just carry on by saying, well, we did the statutory consultation, we didn't have to actually act on those responses, and here you are trumpeting a self-assessment based on such a small amount of people. And in my view, quite frankly, my view of the Vale of Glamorgan Council in so many areas, I don't think the Vale of Glamorgan is capable of self-assessing it itself, to be honest with you. Any assessment of the Vale of Glamorgan should be carried out by an independent person to tell you what you don't want to hear other than what you do want to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Can I check if that's the legacy hand? Thank you. I see no other councillors wanting to come in and speak on this issue. So, Councillor Burnett, as the proposer of the recommendation, do you want the opportunity to respond?
Yes, Mayor, if I could. Thank you all for your comments. Interesting to say that we're only doing it because Welsh Government require it. Actually, no, reflection and assessment is how you improve. And reflection and assessment on the report is how the report will improve as well. I'm slightly taken aback in that there have been more comments on this report in the last half hour than I think there have been in scrutiny committees over the last year. And I think that if we're talking about lack of engagement, then it will be interesting to see how we move forward with discussion and engagement in scrutiny over the next year when we do next year's annual delivery plan. It's interesting to say that the figures for public engagement, and bear in mind there are a lot of other types of engagement that happen. This was just the public engagement that's being discussed here, to say that it's not statistically relevant and then use it as evidence. So, we do one thing or the other, don't we, really? And to say, we could have done this, we could have done that. This has been to every scrutiny committee. The format, the content, the accessibility. If that was felt to be an issue at that time, it could have been raised. and it could have been raised and then it could have been solved if felt relevant. On that note, we will take those on board as we go into next year's, but on this basis, I still continue to move the recommendation for this report.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett. So the recommendation before Council is clear, and we'll now move to a vote. Can I ask the Chief Executive Officer to take us through the vote, please?
Thank you, Mayor. So when I call your names, if you say whether you're in favour of the recommendation, against, or if you want to abstain. So we start with Councillor Anne Asprey, please.
Against the recommendation.
Councillor Julie Aviat.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Gareth Ball. Councillor Ball. Okay, I come back. Councillor Rhiannon Birch.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Bronwyn Brooks.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Gillian Bruce.
Against.
Councillor Ian Buckley.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Liz Burnett.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Samantha Campbell.
Against.
Councillor George Carroll.
Against.
Councillor Christine Cave.
Against.
Councillor Charles Champion.
Against.
Councillor Janice Charles.
Against.
Councillor Millie Collins.
Against.
Councillor Marianne Cowp.
Against.
Councillor Pam Drake.
For.
Councillor Vince Driscoll.
Against.
Councillor Anthony Ernest. Don't know if Councillor Ernest joined the meeting. I'll come back. Councillor Chris Franks.
Against.
Councillor Wendy Gilligan.
In favour, for.
Councillor Russell Godfrey. Councillor Godfrey.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Emma Goodjohn.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Ewan Goodjohn.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Stephen Haynes.
Against.
Councillor Howard Hamilton.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Sally Hanks.
For the recommendation.
Councillor William Hennessy.
Against the recommendation.
Councillor Nick Hodges.
Against.
Councillor Mark Hooper.
Against.
Councillor Catherine Iannucci.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Gwyn John.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Ian Johnson.
And Erbyn against.
Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Belinda Lovelock Edwards.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Julie Lynch Wilson.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Kevin Marnie.
Against.
Councillor Naomi Marshalsea.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Michael Morgan.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Jane Norman.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Helen Payne.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Elliot Penn.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Ian Perry.
Against.
Councillor Joanna Prythrow.
For.
Councillor Rubus Sivinianum.
For.
Councillor Carrie Stallard.
For Blythe.
Councillor Neil Thomas.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Rhys Thomas.
Against the recommendation.
Councillor Stefan William.
Yn erbyn.
Councillor Margaret Wilkinson.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Eddie Williams, sorry.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Mark Wilson.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Nicholas Wood.
Against the recommendation.
And I'll just go back. Gareth Ball, Councillor Gareth Ball, please.
For the recommendation. Apologies.
Thank you. It's okay. And there was one other member, I believe. Bear with me. Councillor Ernest, I don't know if he joined the call or not.
Councillor Ernest was unable to get a connection, unfortunately.
Thank you. If you bear with me, I'll see if I can get the results of the vote.
I have them recorded as 29 for and 22 against with no abstentions.
Thank you, Debbie. Can I just check with the CEO? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, just finished my tally exactly the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry, you've raised your hand. Do you have a point of order that you wish to make at this point?
Yeah, we need to get the accessibility right for documents, because I've been talking about this about 6-7 years since legislation came in, and it's disappointing to hear that I've not been
Councillor
saying
Perry,
this.
I'm sorry to talk over you, but you've had your opportunity to talk about the report during the debate.
I didn't get to come back.
Councillor Perry,
thank you very much. I've said what I want to say. But yeah,
Councillor Perry,
needs to be
Councillor Perry, can I ask you to stop talking while I'm talking? Thank you. Just to be clear, you've had your opportunity to talk about the report. In line with the Constitution, councillors are able to make one comment in response to a recommendation. You had your opportunity to make that comment, and so respectfully we'll draw that matter to a close. We've had the vote. 29 councillors for, 22 councillors against, no abstention, and therefore the recommendation is approved. Thank you. There are no other matters on the agenda this evening, so it just remains for me to thank you all for your attendance this evening and wish you a good evening. Thank you all.
Thanks, Chair. Good night.
Bye.